Hi everyone, it's Sherry from Art Party Boss, and today we are going to make the clay giraffe. I'll be working directly from our art kits, and this is what it looks like. And you can get your own giraffe art kit from Art Party Boss on our Etsy site, or if you are local to Madisonville or Mandeville, Louisiana, you can buy it directly from me at the market. Okay, so let's get started right away. First thing we're going to do is we are going to paint our canvas. So I'm just going to move some of my things out of the way, and you are going to use your wax paper sheet from inside your kit, and we will paint our canvas. You'll just open your paint, and as always you will have extra paint when you're done with this. Just set that aside and save it for another project. Then when you're all done painting, just go ahead and slide that whole little work area aside, and then what you'll want to do is make sure you wash your brush if you're not putting a second coat, and then you can use that for another time. All right, so you'll have a clay mat inside of your kit. This is what you can roll your clay on, and it will prevent the clay from sticking, and you can manipulate it a lot easier. I'm going to use the flip side because if I work on top of this you won't be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to flip that clay mat over and work on top of that. Now you know that inside the kit there's also step-by-step directions, so if at any time you need to see a visual on what I'm explaining, just pause the video and reference those directions. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the largest piece of clay in your kit, and it is labeled, and we're just going to soften it, and we are going to make a cylinder shape or a cone, and that's going to be your giraffe's body. So let me just do that. It's always best to start all of your shapes as a ball because that's a great starting point. And now when I roll, I'm going to put a little more pressure on one end, so that will become the narrow end or the top. So I want it to be fairly tall, but it can be skinny. As long as it's fatter at the bottom, you'll be okay. Now I need the bottom to be a little bit flat because it's going to stand up, so I can just twist it on my mat and make it stand that way. And this doesn't have to be perfect because really you're barely going to see the body. So just make a shape like that, and then we have 4 same size pieces, and these are the legs. So these are all going to be balls, and then they are all going to be the same shape as the body. That. So I'm just going to make all 4 the same size. And they can be fairly pointy at the top because you're going to blend them. And if you want to, as you're making them, you can flatten the bottoms. All right, so now I'm going to make the head. Okay, so I'll make a circle again, and this time I want to make a egg shape, really. Let's just think of an egg or a Tootsie Roll, like a really fat Tootsie Roll. Yeah. And if you want to, you can kind of estimate what would that head size look like in relation to the body. It'll be fine. If you just make that egg shape, it's going to work out just perfectly. All right, so now I have all of the shapes I need for the main part of the body. 2 more pieces to make. I have the tail, which is really just a long coil, and we can shorten that or even make it longer later if we want. Okay, and I'll just set that aside. And then you have 2 little pieces for the ears. So we can just go ahead and make 2 triangles that will form into ears, which we can do now. So to make an ear, we just press and squeeze. Press the middle and squeeze. And then flatten one end. There. And they're not going to be very good. And then if you want to, you can just bend that tip in a little bit, just like his ear might be, and set that aside. And we'll do the same thing to the other ear. Okay, so now we will go ahead and put some details on our head shape. You'll take your toothpick, the one that has a flat end, and you'll just mark where you want your nostrils to be. And they'll be sort of close together. And then you'll take your wooden knife tool, which isn't very sharp, but it'll be able to make a mouth very easily. So then just slip it in there and make a little smiley face and go to the other direction. And then if you want it to be a little deeper, you can. Okay, so now you might feel like it's flattened it. Just squeeze the sides a little bit. Make his lower jaw maybe a little more forward than the other. And then just tap it all and it's going to look amazing. Okay, when he gets his tongue in there and everything, he's going to look super cute. I'll just open it just a little more there. All right. Okay, so now I think we need to put his eyes. What I like to do for the eyes is I like to go ahead and make a spot, a location, identify where I'm going to put them, and make a hole there as a guide. All right, and then it's easier to slip that wiggle eye right in there. You see, I'm going to hold it vertically, slide it in there, and then lay it back. And I'll do the same thing with the other one. I like the way that looks too. Add his ear. Well, let's put his eyebrows first before we try to get the ears. You just take one of the pieces, a pretty small, like smaller than you would think, piece, and just roll it and then make a tiny coil. It's very little. And maybe pinch either end to make it pointy. And then you can just stick it on top of that wiggle eye, overlap it from the wiggle eye and the clay. If you think it's too big, you can just redo it, make it smaller. That's the nice thing about the modeling clay, is it's very easy to redo something. And I'll just stick it on there. Okay, so now we're going to add the ears. If you want to, you could put a little indentation to make the mark of the inner ear, which I think I'll just go ahead and do. Whenever you add texture, it always adds something to your clay. And then really, you just need to stick him on there and he'll stay. And I'm going to bend it in. If you really want to, you can use a little glue, but it sort of makes the pieces slide. So I just like to push it there. And a nice thing, another way to make sure your clay sticks is you can just rub it and blend it, sort of score it into place. If you just do that very lightly, just so gently, it'll help it stay in place too. So that's another little trick you can use. Boy, he looks kind of mean. When he gets his spots on, I think he's going to look better. Let's go ahead and make his hooves. So take another one of those pieces, maybe tear it in half, and then you'll make a ball and flatten it just with your fingers. And then just take it and adhere it to the bottom of the leg. And just go around the edges, and that one will stick. All right, and you can do that to all 4 legs. Okay, so now I have all 4 legs with their hooves on. And now we're just going to go ahead and add a few more dots, a few more spots to the head and to the legs. So practice making the tiniest spot you can, and then you can make some larger ones too. So tiny, and then different sizes. And really, you just need to do one size and a side, and then you can always go in, and we'll be able to add more spots later when we have our giraffe all together. Okay, so now I'm just finishing up my spots, and I'm going to put a few on my tail, and then we will go ahead and also make some fur for the bottom of this tail. So you can just take a little piece of the brown clay. I'll just take a new piece. You'll have plenty of separate brown pieces. Make a ball, flatten it. It'll be make it wider on the bottom, and then just attach it to your bottom. You don't have to do much. Remember, you won't see one side of it. And then take your toothpick, and you can either just draw lines to make it look like his fur is just dangling, or you could literally cut a few pieces there and separate it so it'll be like fur. Whatever you like best. All right, so there we have it. We'll go wash your hands. Make sure you have no brown clay on your hands. pinch off a tiny ball for the tongue, and then we'll just flatten that and make it long and pointy at one end and flat on the other. And then if you want to, you could put a little tongue line. You know how our tongues have a little separation in it. Take his mouth, just open it gently. You just stick your tongue in there, just like that. You could use your knife end, or let's see, probably your round craft stick will be better, and then just press it into place. You don't have to do too much, and close it if you like. And now look at that, how cute. All right, so there we have it. We've made all our pieces with some basic shapes, just cone shapes. That's it. Cone shapes, and an egg shape, and a coil. And now we're going to make our giraffe. So our canvas should be dry by now, and we'll just bring that back over to our work area here. And now I am going to decide where I want my giraffe to sit. So I'm going to have him sit right about there, and I'm just going to wiggle him a little bit and get him to adhere to the canvas. So you can see that's all I did, and he stays there pretty well. If you really want to though, you can use a little bit of your glue. Just take a dab with your fingertip, just touch it, and then you can rub it on the bottom and place it there. But like I say, I don't think it's necessary. If you flatten the bottom and just rotate him a little bit, he'll stay just fine. All right, so actually now it's going to be a little slippery, so I really do prefer not to have the glue. So we're going to have two legs that are going to go in the front. Let's just kind of set it up and see, and two that are going to go around the back. If you have a preference for which legs go where, then you can work it around. Maybe you want to switch them around and say, I like these two better and this one for the back. But whichever way it goes for you, let's just push these here. We'll kind of push them together at the top and then lay them so that they're, here you could do a couple of things. You could bend it a little bit so his hooves are showing, the bottom of his hooves are showing, and then have these two parts touch, and then just rub them. If you can see, we're just going to rub it up so it blends in just a little bit. You don't have to worry about it too much. And then the back two legs, bend the pointy end, that end, and just press it against the back, and do the same thing with this. And then you just press it into the giraffe, and all these pieces are going to stay just fine. Okay, pretty cute. I think this is going to look great. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to turn around and work on blending this just a little bit, okay? So if you want to, you can just push that in there. And now we can add the tail, however you like. And you can push his tail there. If you think that's too long of a tail, because they actually do have pretty short tails, you can just twist off the length of it. Take that off and put that on here, just like that. Nice. And now let's go ahead and put his head on. So we're going to use our other toothpick that is sharp on both ends, and we'll just stick this down all the way, or until we'll just leave a little bit up there showing, and then just stick your head on there real carefully. There, and he'll actually wiggle a little bit. Okay, and now you can work on blending it a little bit if you want to make that come up and hide anything that you see. There. Okay, so there he is. He's all set. Looks pretty cute. And now I can just add his tail. And then we have one more thing that we can do, and this is absolutely optional. I think he looks just adorable as he is, but if you want to add a mane on your giraffe, you can just take one of these pieces, one of your small pieces, and make a long coil. And just roll that on your clay mat. Roll that out. And it just needs to be about as long as his back, and make one end pointy because that's going to be his mane. So there, I have one that's pointy. I'm just going to stick that right there between it and just tuck it in all the way down his back. There. And then you can even curl it up if you like, or set it off to the side. And that would be that. And then you have some other pieces of clay that you could either make animals, maybe a snail or a bug, or you could just do what we did earlier, what I did with my first one, and I just made little puddles for my flowers to grow in. So you could do that too. And I think I'm just going to do that again. And you have plenty of clay to do more than one thing. You could make a bow or whatever you like. I'm just going to put my flowers or jewels right on top of this clay, just to brighten it all up a little bit. Not need any glue because it'll really stick to the canvas. And then just pour out your jewels, and you can use your flowers if you like, and press that into the clay. And you could glue some of the other jewels on the top here if you like. You could do it like that, or you could put them around all over, however you would like to design your giraffe scene. Yeah, so there you have it. There is our giraffe, and you always will have extra clay, so just enjoy that. So there's our giraffe. Thank you so much for making that with me. And if you want this kit or another kit, please visit us at artpartyboss.com or on our Etsy shop.